Hello everyone. Today I will talk about the role of intellectuals according to Antonio Gramsci. First of all, Antonio Gramsci is much more famous than I thought. His views were so meaningful that even today a lot of historians, politicians, and intellectuals rely on his thoughts. He was an Italian idealist philosopher, writer to numerous newspapers about political theory, linguistics, and sociology. He was also a communist politician during the time of fascism and the co-founder and one-time leader of the Italian Communist Party. He himself was a Marxist politician. He lived a very busy life. He was very active in political life, and his life was full of events. Actually, I have never seen a Wikipedia page this long about someone's life, so I won't go much into details. He wrote a lot about politics, traveled a lot, and was a very intelligent and influential mind. It is not a surprise that because of his political activeness and intelligence, Mussolini imprisoned him in 1926 for 20 years. His prosecutor said on the court that for 20 years we must stop this brain from functioning. In spite of this, within 2 to 3 years, Gramsci was allowed to write in his cell. He quickly became ill in there, and his health started to deteriorate. He could go out for a private doctor, but at this point he was too ill to move. Then he died from stroke after 10 years of prison. His works are still remarkable. From the prison, he wrote more than 30 notebooks and more than 3,000 pages of history analysis, which is very useful and representative until this day. These are called the prison notebooks, and they weren't published until the 1960s and 70s. Gramsci showed much interest toward intellectuals and their role in society early in his university years. He wanted to figure out how the mind can become the practical power. In the following, we will see what Gramsci thought about them. But first of all, who is an intellectual in general? According to Albert Camus, an intellectual is someone whose mind watches itself. A more practical definition according to the dictionary is a person who is well educated and enjoys activities in which they have to think seriously about things. And according to Gramsci, all men are intellectuals, but not all men have in society the function of intellectuals. Gramsci distinguished two kinds of intellectuals, traditional and organic intellectuals. Traditional intellectuals are the so-called old ones. They imagine themselves as a higher and independent social group with historical presence, which puts them above history, economy, and politics, and separates them from political class struggle, but in fact, they are strongly connected to the dominant ideology and the ruling class. According to Gramsci, the traditional and vulgarized type of intellectual is given by the men of letters, the philosophers, the artists. Therefore, journalists who claim to be men of letters, philosophers, artists, also regard themselves as the true intellectuals. Organic intellectuals are the so-called new ones, coming from the proletariat. According to Gramsci, every new class can create organic intellectuals alongside itself. He claimed that in physical work, even the most degraded and mechanical ones, there is at least a slight presence of technical qualification, which means the minimum existence of creative intellectual activity. Almost everyone is an intellectual in some field. The only exception is the peasantry. Although their role is essential in production, they do not elaborate their own organic intellectuals nor assimilate traditional ones. It happens that other social classes draw their intellectuals from peasantry, thus it is not impossible to become one, but it can be fulfilled only in another class. Organic intellectuals are strongly rooted to their community and care about the local people, their struggles, and their experiences. According to Gramsci, they have an important role in society because the status quo between the social classes depends on them and their activity as well. To understand their importance and their duty, first we have to understand the social structure back then. Gramsci was a Marxist thinker, philosopher, and politician. Marxist theories see and analyze the world and society from an economic perspective. Gramsci thought this further, and he analyzed society from the perspective of political structure. He says that in politics there are two types of behavioral models: dictatorship and hegemony. Hegemony is predominance by consent. It could be reached if the structure of the classes becomes uncertain via any change or event. Hegemony basically means an opening towards democracy. The new intellectuals will be the political party that function on the level of bourgeoisie and tries to form some kind of consensus between the subaltern classes and the political and higher classes leaders. It might have a greater or lesser proportion of members in the higher grades or in the lower, but this is not the point. What matters is the function, which is directive and organizational. This party tries to raise intellectuals who convince people to agree on the leading philosophy through which leaders can reach hegemony. But what did he mean behind new intellectuals? A new intellectual, on the contrary, should be an organic intellectual, a specialized scholar with specific knowledge but who at the same time is able to direct and organize people. In other words, he must be aware of the task and the responsibility of his position. Their functions in question are precisely organizational and connective. The intellectuals are the dominant group's deputies, exercising the subaltern functions of social hegemony and political government. These comprise: first, the spontaneous consent given by the great masses of the population to the general direction imposed on social life by the dominant fundamental group. This consent is historically caused by the prestige which the dominant group enjoys because of its position and function in the world of production. Second, the apparatus of state coercive power, which legally enforces discipline on those groups who do not consent either actively or passively. This apparatus is, however, constituted for the whole of society in anticipation of moments of crisis, of command and direction when spontaneous consent has failed. Although it is an opening towards democracy, we can clearly see that it is still far from that. Intellectuals always had and always will have an impact and an important role in society that they have to be responsible for, let it be traditional or organic. Gramsci's thoughts and ideas are remarkable even today. Fun fact about him that even our Viktor Orban cited him in his thesis. Gramsci is definitely someone whose life worth your time, so if I woke up your interest, there is a documentary film about him. Thank you for your attention.
Siamo ad Ustica in 30 confinati politici. Abbiamo già iniziato tutta una serie di corsi, elementari e di cultura generale, per i diversi gruppi di confinati.
Ma com'è che una di quello che so io, di quello che ho visto io nella mia vita, ancora sogno qua? No. Che vita brutta, che vita di cane, che vita l'aria, che freddo, che fame, che miseria. Tutto, 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 tutto.